Travis Winggood. So I struggled in the spirit last night, spirit being revelation, as the spirit wanted me to do this video and I wanted sleep. And because of my desire for sleep, the spirit thought he would punish me, resulting in my skipping my run today. But I knew that if I stayed up late, I would end up sleeping through my run anyway. But the spirit knows I'm smarter than he is, because of that one time, and he knows what I'm talking about. Alright, so the cause of the inspiration was a comment last night as I was going to bed, who recognized my ring. He recognized the eagles, which makes it Freemasonry. And so he was asking which lodge I belong to. Now, he may be thinking he's smarter than I am and hoping to catch me as a fraud or whatever, because if I'm not a Freemason, why am I wearing a Freemason ring? However, I granted his comment and replied. My reply was, I'm a Brighamite, Scottish Rite Mason of, let's see, entered apprentice at the Los Angeles Temple, 6th of May, 1998. And so that's where the inspiration kicked in, as the Spirit wants me to do a video on the Mormon Lodge. Because the Mormon Lodge is a little complicated if you don't understand church history. And so, if you understand the lawsuit that I filed against the church, and you listen to the videos, the first one specifically, which goes over treason. I think it's treason. No, second one, with counts 2 and counts under 3. That's the one with treason. The first one does go over it in the whatever it's called, the introduction, the cause for the lawsuit. Notice of, I can't remember. Let me look it up. See, here's the lawsuit. I'm expecting the waiver, my copy of the waiver, to be returned. I'm expecting the earliest to be today, as Salt Lake City would deliver it to the Kearns post office. Nature of the case. You've got me groggy this morning, thanks to the Spirit. So, yeah, I'm expecting the waiver tomorrow, but it's possible they could deliver it today. So we'll see. If I do get it, I will do a video for the breaking news. Oh, man. And see, one of the other reasons why I was fighting the spirit because of sleep is that my YouTube channel just doesn't get the views. You know, if I title it wrong, I'll be lucky if I can get up to 50. And so it's just ridiculous. And the spirit knows this. Anyway, in the lawsuit, part of the treason has to do with the attack on America in 1826 that was thwarted by the Smith family. What? Yes. And I go over it in the lawsuit, but because Joseph Smith was murdered, because Brigham Young, being of the Scottish Rite, learned that the Smiths were the cause of thwarting their mission. Brigham Young infiltrated the church, rose up in power, took over the church with the murder of Joseph Smith, fled America, created his own kingdom, hoping to raise up a nation for the Scottish Rite's Illuminati. But America quickly came in and thwarted Brigham Young, as history tells us. But the church still remained, and they lay in wait in the Salt Lake Valley, waiting for the day when the Scottish Rite's Illuminati would again rise up and conquer America. And it's here. It's now. The signs in the Bible have all happened. The American puppet of Russia, which has the seal of the Scottish Rites, 32-degree ranking. And I've done all this for you, but yeah, we've been conquered as America. And so now I'm trying to tell you guys, each and every single state needs to secede from the nation in order to dethrone Trump. Because if he has no kingdom, he can't be king. But nobody's listening because YouTube is hindering my videos. And at the most, I'm getting 200. But those are rare. And those are only because of it going national in the news. So, all right. All right. So, got all these Post-it notes, and I got the sticky thing on. Grumpy. All right. So, the Mormon Lodge. So, as you have figured out in all my rambling this morning, the Smiths were Yorkites. Brigham Young was Scottish Rites. They are different. The first three rankings are the same in either lodge. And so a person can't distinguish between the two. So when William Morgan's book, which was not his book, it was David Miller, who from the Batavian Press, who was trying to recover some of the money he had lost investing into William Morgan with his books that he was going to write, which Joseph Smith Sr. took over from him. The Book of Mormon is William Morgan's books. but because it was too masonry for Martin Harris to handle, and Martin Harris destroyed the first 116 pages. Then Joseph Smith Sr., as the Lord, chastising Joseph Smith Jr., who had the task of distracting Martin Harris, making Martin Harris believe that he was participating in the publication of the book. They had found Sidney Rigdon with an unpublished manuscript, and so they made a deal with Sidney Rigdon, as you can read from that chastisement of Joseph by his father, to use Sidney's book. And they had already had made the deal, and he was beginning to work on it, or they knew of him and were going to make the deal with him through Oliver Cowdery. Yeah, they knew Sidney Rigdon, and had made arrangements, as was clear from what's now Doctrine and Covenants 3 and 10. Oh, man. So I'm sorry that you're having to wade through this video, but I told the Spirit. He doesn't listen to me. Alright. So, in my lawsuit, I explained that the church has lied to me as a Mormon, as I am believing that I am to be a part of saving the Constitution in the latter days. An army of elders, so to speak, to go up against the Scottish Rites Illuminati, as they are known, who want to establish a king on the throne of America. That's what Joseph was doing with his organization. The deal that was made with Sidney Rigdon was that Sidney Rigdon would have a church for him to be the pastor of. He had his Kirtland, Ohio church, and because he had been booted out of the Baptist congregation, and he left the Campbellite over a discrepancy concerning retranslating the New Testament versus the whole Bible. Sidney Rigdon wanted to do the whole Bible, and Alexander Campbell, is it? Just wanted to do the New Testament. And so Sidney left out of frustration. It's just like, why? It's not your church, Sidney. It's Campbell's church. Let Campbell do what Campbell wants. Nevertheless, Sidney left, and it could be because of his brain damage caused by the accident that his brother later talks about, which explains why Sidney has to plagiarize books in order to give sermons, because the brain damage prevented him from creating his own sermons. And thus the Book of Mormon is plagiarized, but encoded plagiarism. And so the original church that was founded by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Smiths, contains Sidney Rigdon's desires. So 8 years old for baptism, Sidney Rigdon. When Sidney Rigdon joined later that year, Joseph immediately put him to work on his translation of the Bible, retranslation of the Bible. but we instead call it the Joseph Smith translation. And it's not a real translation, it's just a revision. And that's why Mormons, if you'll pay attention, it's not a translation, is it? It's just a revelation for a revision. And so Joseph Smith goes to learn Hebrew, gets Rabbi Sykes, who published his Hebrew grammar, which is why Rakiyang instead of Rakia in facsimile number 1. Joseph Smith wanted to do an actual retranslation of the Bible, and let Sidney do his thing, but Joseph Smith had his intentions. And then the papyri came, and that was like, yay, I can finally do what I wanted to do because of the Knights Templar in the York Rites. Because of the Book of Mormon talks about Egyptian language, the brass plates going through all the world, being the fulfillment of Ezekiel 37, etc., etc., etc. So thus he named the papyri the Book of Abraham and the Book of Joseph. Yay! Alright, so this is too much building up here. You guys are already sick and tired of me and have quit this video. I warn the Spirit, can't mess with me because I won't be able to do a proper presentation. See, I know better than the Spirit. Even if I have to prove it. Okay, so there are the pit of despair. Don't even think about it. Alright, so York Rites has 10 rankings. The Scottish Rites have 32, with an honorary 33rd degree. They're the degrees. So anybody talking about degrees in Masonry, you're talking about the Scottish Rite. The York Rite does not have degrees. They're just ranks. The highest being the Order of Knights Templar. And so the degrees involve the Illuminati symbolism of the inverted pentagram. Thus, Brigham Young made sure to have the inverted pentagram on the Nauvoo Temple, which he dedicated to the Illuminati because the temple was dedicated on 1st of May, 1846, which was the anniversary of the Illuminati founding in 1776. And so, yes, Brigham Young was a Scottish Rites Illuminati. There is no doubt about that. He is the enemy of America, the threat to conquer America, and contains the proof because he couldn't keep his mouth shut, and thus the Freemasons disavowed Brigham Young when he took over from Joseph Smith. Whereas with Joseph Smith, the Warsaw Lodge was just upset because the Grand Master made Joseph Smith a Master Mason the next day after becoming was it entered apprentice first, or did he make him a fellow craft first? It must have been an entered apprentice, but you know, it didn't follow the process that the others at the Warsaw Lodge had to go through, and so they were upset that Joseph was getting special privileges. But the Grand Master was thinking of the big picture and saying, hey, Joseph is in charge of a whole religious organization, and he can get the spread of the Masons back better and quicker than we can. But chaos ensued nonetheless. Alright, so Brigham Young, by taking over Joseph's religion, merged the Freemasonic temple rites with Joseph's religion. Now, Joseph separated the two. He organized the organization of the religion because of Sidney Rigdon, so that Sidney Rigdon can join with the deal of making the Book of Mormon. But Joseph Smith wanted a Freemasonic lodge, which is why he talked about building a temple and having a priesthood rather than just religious pastors who give sermons at church for the sacrament. Again, Sidney Rigdon. Because Joseph Smith didn't get to be a Mason because his brother, his older brother Hiram, got to be the Mason there in Palmyra. And because Dad had the car, yes, it's an anachronism. If you're familiar with scripture study, you need to understand what an anachronism is. And so that's, yeah, and I go over that multiple times, that because Smith Sr. had the horse and carriage to travel with, he then became a Mason down in Canandaigua, where William Morgan was arrested, during which he had risen to become a Master Mason, the third rank of the York Rites, though it's the same with the Scottish Rites. And so Joseph Smith didn't get to become a member because you cannot be a member of a lodge where another family member is already a member. That's why Brigham Young did not become a member of the Scottish Rites Lodge, because his older brothers were already members of the Scottish Rites Lodge. And so, yeah, he didn't get to become a member and be able to rise up in those ranks because of the lack of lodges to go around for the whole family. And so when the Smiths saved America by causing the anti-Masonic movement, even though the anti-Masons were unaware that this is why it was being done, the Scottish Rites Lodge members were furious because their plan to take over America was thwarted temporarily. Anti-Mason movement didn't kill anybody, they just burned the temples to the ground. And so, yeah, you have a whole bunch of Scottish Rites who are furious and want revenge. And when Joseph's organization emerges and they start spreading around the good news of the Book of Mormon, which was the warning that this was going to be done in the latter days now, the Scottish Rites were all marshaled in rank as Brigham Young went on his mission, saying, "Hey guys, we found the cause, so this is our plan." And so Brigham Young was a great recruiter, good missionary boy, which is why he was placed in the missionary quorum of 12, which has nothing to do with authority, as I keep going over with Mormons who don't understand. It was not the same organization that we practice today. Brigham Young took over and made massive changes to the administration and as well as the temple. And so the temple ceremony with the garden and the and the fallen world, and Peter, James, and John, that all comes from Brigham Young. That had nothing to do with Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith was just washing and anointing for the most part. And because it was Brigham Young who merged the religion and the temple together. And so Brigham Young created the garden scene, and his garden scene included multiple wives for Adam, and they were scantily clad. We're talking fig leaf scantily clad, to the point that many Mormons were uncomfortable. And so Brigham Young in Salt Lake City had to put fig leaves to cover them up somewhat. But you got to understand, they didn't wear bikinis back in those days, guys. For a woman to be seen in a bikini, even if it's fig leaf bikini, causes our third great grandmothers to faint. So be grateful, men, that women's fashion has changed since then. But yeah, the temple was completely different even from what we have today. But some things didn't change, like killing yourself didn't change until 1991, but they still have the knife for those of us who remember to remember. But that's all Brigham Young. And the magic underwear with the square and the compass on the boobs, that was Brigham Young. No, it's not Joseph Smith. How do we know? Because Joseph Smith was not wearing garments at his murder. It wasn't Joseph Smith, it was Brigham Young. So, alright. Man, we're already at the 30 minutes. This could have been real quick and simple if the Spirit just let me sleep. Because I had taken the notes and whatever. So, alright. So, if you're wondering, what are the 32 ranks in the Mormon Church? Because they're not called that. They're not called the Knight of the East, or Sword, or Grand, trying to read the small print here, Grand Elect Mason, or the Master of the North Arch. Where are they? What are they? Because they're not named here, and so the church is then able to claim, no, we're not Masons, we're perfected origin religion. No. What Brigham Young did was, because he took over Joseph Smith's religion, he also took over the York rites that Joseph established in 1842. Because at first, in 1830, Joseph wanted to create his own York rites and create his own temple and have his priesthood be the York rites members. Because remember, the anti-Mason movement burned the churches, or burned the temples, burned all the lodges, which were afterwards called Masonic cultural halls. Yes, like our cultural halls and our chapels. And so when he got the opportunity to have his own York rites in 1842, Brigham Young became a member of the York rites. The Danites, who were already Scottish rites, were not to be allowed to become York Rites members. You're not supposed to cross over, become a member of both rites, because if you're found out, you're banished. And so Brigham Young's brothers, older brothers, and all that Brigham Young recruited, even Heber C. Kimball especially. Heber C. Kimball was a master mason of the Scottish Rites, and Joseph Smith made him a York Rites. And so they deceived Joseph, and yeah, it's bad news. But the Scottish Rites saw Joseph's organization and did what they had done in pattern and were going to do to America. They did it to Joseph's organization, infiltrated, rose in rank, took over with the murder of the leader. And so in the Brighamite takeover, you have a Scottish Rites infiltrator using the religion as a front for the criminal organization, using the York Rites template for his Scottish Rites criminal organization. And so you can see with his use, Brigham Young's use of the inverted pentagram, and the merging of the Joseph's religion and the York Rites, that Brigham Young was indicating to the Scottish Rites, I have conquered this enemy, and so that you know I am one of you. So anyway, so what you have in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a York Rites template with a Scottish Rites undertone, with the inverted pentagram, the taking away of agency, which is Lucifer's plan of happiness, to save everyone. And thus the church is anti-gay, anti-black, anti-woman, anti-poor, etc. Okay, so the orders. What are the orders in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Because it's entered apprentice, fellow craft, master mason, mark master, past master, most excellent master, royal arch master, Order of the Red Cross, Order of Knights Malta, and Order of the Knights Templar. Oh, man. Alright, so what are they in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Well, as I indicated, when I was going to go on a mission back in 1998 on May 6th, I became entered apprentice. That's when I first became an actual member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints under Brigham Young, because Brigham Young was Methodist in religion. He was not Baptist, Campbellite, and so he didn't care much for the 8-year-old baptism. And because of his interest in Masonry, he made it an adult age when you go through the temple as the merging to become a member. So that's the difference there. So there have been some changes in administration, so you can't use the current changes to apply to this. So let's go over the 10 for that. Let me double check. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. So remember, Joseph Smith established the 70. there were two levels of 70. One was at the stake level, the other was at the church level. And Brigham Young kept that going. And so first you have elder. That's those who go on missions, getting the Melchizedek priesthood. At first you get the rank of elder. That's entered apprentice. Then you have the stake level 70. Now my dad was a part of the last group of stake 70s as he became a high priest with its dissolution or disincorporation, disbarment, whatever it's called, when was it Kimball who took it away? But anyway, that's the second level of fellowcraft. And so now elders are technically fellowcraft only when they get assigned to be temple workers. They become fellowcraft because the 70, stake 70, are done away with. So when I became a temple worker, technically a veil worker, not an ordinance worker, but the original ranking is gone, and so they're all grouped together there. So when the Jordan River Temple was going to close for remodeling, they put out a call for extra help during that time period to handle the overload of people wanting to go to that temple before it closes. And so I and my second future ex-wife got to be a part of that as the bishop recommended us, and we got interviewed, and she became a host, whatever that's called, that escorts people, or is it positions in the temple, directing people where to go, and I became a veil worker. And so that was when I became a fellowcraft of the Brighamite Yorkites, Scottish Rites, Yorkites. And that was, November 2016? Okay, so that's how that worked. So technically I'm now a fellowcraft because I've not been offered any of the other ranks. And here's why. High priest is Master Mason. And Nelson has now taken away the high priest rank. So that's now gone. No Mormon can now become a Master Mason. You end up skipping Master Mason and going right to the leadership now, if you are lucky enough to be among the few now who will be able to rise in rank. So high priests, enjoy your high priesthood as a Master Mason until you're dead, because after that, after you're grandfathered out, none of us elders can ever become a Master Mason. At the most, we can become fellowcraft as a temple worker. Okay, so then bishop is the mark master level. So now you're going, oh, whoa, wow, I get it now. Yep, sure enough. The priesthood ranks, offices, are the Yorkites ranks. And so the High Council with the stake president are the past master. The regional representative, which has now been done away with, would be the most excellent master. And area presidents, or area 70, are the Royal Archmasons. And then the general 70 now, because remember, that has been, the first and second quorums of the 70 have been combined together into a general authority 70. And with the 70 presidency, they're the Order of Red Cross. And then the apostles are the Order of Knights Malta, and the president is the Order of Knights Templar. His counselors are Order of Knights Malta still, even though they get to help. That's where the criminal organization structure comes into play, as the criminal organization structure has the underboss as the president of the 12, and the counselors are the counselors in a criminal organization. And Brigham Young, or the church's structure, has two counselors rather than one consigliere of a criminal organization. So that's the ranking and how it works. Okay, so now you know. Wasn't that fun? Oh, man. Oh. Next time the Spirit needs to listen to me. Because if I put the wrong title, and it's already bad enough that this is 42 minutes. But, oh, man. But now you know why the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have no fruit to demonstrate that they're prophets, seers, revelators, and translators. It's because they're a usurped organization. They usurped the Yorkites of Joseph Smith and his church, and they use his church as the front to commit their crimes, just like they did as Danites back in Joseph Smith's day. And the Danites were the ones who were going around committing the crimes, seeking revenge on all those who burned down their temples. That's why they were so violent and destructive. They were getting revenge. But they were using Joseph's organization, getting Joseph in trouble on a regular basis, because Joseph was the leader of the organization. And so now you know more about that story of church history, is that Brigham Young's Danites were getting Joseph in trouble specifically to remove him from office, from the leadership, so that they could take over. But Joseph kept getting out of jail, so they had to murder him. And thus the Carthage jail, where, like I said in yesterday's video again, Joseph was not at that Nauvoo council meeting. He did not order the destruction of the print press. He said they were an enemy, but he did not give the order at that council meeting. They did it on their own, saying, we know what Joseph wants, we're going to go do it. They did it, and then Joseph got in trouble for it. But to make sure Joseph stayed dead this time, not to get out of prison again, they had Joseph murdered. And Brigham Young purposely sent in Willard Richards and John Taylor from his missionary quorum of 12 to be there at the jail. They were not arrested. They were sent there by Brigham Young to make sure Joseph doesn't get away. And Joseph Smith then was given my third great-grandfather's single-shot pistol. Then Wheelock comes in, gives Joseph a 6-shooter. Now they're going, oh crap, he's got a gun now, and it's not a rifle like the mob has, because the militia are issued rifles, which are single shots. After each shot, you then have to reload it, put the ball in, put the powder in, stamp it down, and then you can fire again. That takes time. And so, because they were so long, they didn't bring them into the building. So they went unarmed, just en masse, thinking we could overpower them because they aren't armed. But then Joseph was at the top of the stairs. Boom, boom, boom. Ah! And they all fled out the building, carrying the bodies of those who were shot. And so they did not get in the room. They did not shoot Joseph and Hiram. So who did? Notice John Taylor is the only other person shot. And so he's shot in the front because of his watch. So who is shooting at him if Joseph Smith is outside at the top of the stairs? And so it's not the mob. The whole door incident that Mormons like to portray because of the false lies of the church, that never happened. Joseph Smith was at the top of the stairs, chased them out. So who shot John? Joseph did. Why is Joseph shooting at John? Because while Joseph was going bow, 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 he hears a shot in the room. He turns, sees his brother Hiram on the floor, John Taylor standing over his body. So what do you think Joseph's going to do? Yeah, boom, 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 the remaining 3 balls into John Taylor. John Taylor, not getting a death blow, runs like a little coward baby under the bed. And Willard Richards is hiding in the corner the whole time. Joseph then goes into the room, mourning over his brother. And while he's mourning over his brother, Willard Richards, who obtained the wine and at the same time obtained his own 6-shooter, comes up behind Joseph, boom, shoots him in the back like the coward that he is, and then takes his body and throws him out the window. And so if the mob are rushing the door to get in, why is Joseph going to the window? Never happened. Joseph was thrown out the window after he had been shot in the back. And then those of the mob then gathered their rifles and began shooting them one at a time, remember, at the well. Then Brigham Young rewarded Willard Richards by making him his counselor. Second counselor, because Heber C. Kimball had to be the first counselor, because Heber is his bestest buddy and the Master Mason. John Taylor was rewarded 2 ways. The first was by making everybody in his loyalist missionary quorum of the 12 the High Council quorum of the 12, merging the 2 groups together into one. That was the first one. The second one was giving all of his loyalists in the new organized quorum of 12 the ranks of prophet, seer, revelator, not translator. Brigham Young didn't care about translation. And then the third reward for John Taylor and his loyalty was when Orson Hyde had given Brigham Young grief upon grief throughout their term in regards to Brigham Young declaring Adam as Heavenly Father. Orson Hyde was a vocal opponent of that. So in conference sessions, you have the two of them arguing publicly. And in private, Brigham Young and Orson Hyde were arguing privately about the matter as well. And because of Orson Hyde's disloyalty, the year before Brigham Young died, he restructured the order of his newly organized Quorum of 12 to make it so that you're ranked by when you came into his Quorum of 12. And because Orson Hyde, back in 1838, when the Danites were putting pressure to kick out leaders of all the different orders of the religion, Thomas B. Marsh leaving because of that, so that Brigham Young then took over, became the president of his Missionary 12. That was all part of the coup. So Brigham Young then said, hey, Orson Hyde, you were kicked out in 1838, brought back in, and were placed back in your same ranking when you were brought back into the church. I'm not now. Those who replaced you during the time of your absence get to move ahead in rank as you go down in rank. You will not become the successor to the presidency. And John Taylor then became the successor for his loyalty, even though he was a coward and ran under the bed. But because he did actually murder Hiram, although they had Willard had to use more of his balls to blast Hiram, let's see, right here, while he was lying on the ground to make sure he was dead, which is the blood stain on the floor that Spencer W. Kimball tried to clean up as he tried to cover up the evidence at the scene because of his connection to his second great-grandfather, or great-grandfather, which is it? I think it would be great-grandfather, because he's that old. So his grandfather's, Heber C. Kimball's, involvement in that. And so Spencer W. Kimball would have known of this coup attempt and covered it up as a loyal grandson. Alright, so there you go. This is why I've been warning you guys. This is why I've been telling you about stuff. This is why I'm suing the church. Because I sued the church because the church has lied to us. They led us to believe that we were going to protect America, protect the Constitution. But instead, the church lied to us about being Masons, and they lied to us about whose loyalty we were on. And the church is the enemy. They are traitors to America. And thus my treason counts in my lawsuit against the church. So there you go. If any of you endured this, and now I'm up, now I'm awake, now I can give this video. And so, yeah, like I said, I may get the return letter today, maybe, not likely, most likely tomorrow, but we'll see. Like I said, when I get it, I will let you know. They may hold on to it. They may go, oh crap, we need to hold on to this, we need to get word from the brethren as to what to do. So, we'll see. I'll keep you updated. The conspiracy to coup America. And it's already happened. So, yeah. I was denied saving America. So now you know more of the whole story.